For this video, why don't you join me for a nice scenic hike around the Devil's Millhopper? So I've been to a lot of state parks over the years, but this is the first one I've ever been to that highlights a sinkhole. That's basically the draw of this park. The Devil's Millhopper is a sinkhole that is roughly 100 feet deep by about 500 feet wide. It's huge, and I'm about to hike around the nature trail that surrounds it. Now, generally, you can hike to the bottom of the sinkhole, go 100 feet down into the ground. They built a staircase that goes all the way down to the surface where the sinkhole formed. However, ever since March 2020, they closed down that staircase because they're worried about social distancing in the age of COVID-19. That's a real shame too, because this park really is kind of a weak experience without being able to go down there. Now, that staircase that goes down into the sinkhole hasn't even been open all that long. It was completely destroyed in Hurricane Irma back in 2017. However, they reopened it, I believe, in the middle of 2019. So it wasn't even open a year before COVID-19 shut it down. And normally, there's a bridge that you can walk and do the full loop on the nature trail, but that has also been closed, and it looks like it's because of structural problems to that bridge. If you're going to this park circa 2021, it's really depressing and underwhelming because there's so many deficient features to this park that just without them, it's just kind of a mediocre experience. So the park itself is situated on 71 acres here in Gainesville, Florida. And even though that's not a particularly large park, it still has three distinct ecological environments, which basically formed through the exposure to sun, fire, and water. There's a sandhill environment, which is basically where all the sandy soil and regular fires resulted in a lot of pine trees. Then they have a bunch of moist soils that have led to a bunch of hammock trees forming. And also, you'll notice towards the sinkhole, there's some swamp areas. There's running water and, pretty small waterfall, although I can't really see it from the vantage point of the nature trails that I filmed today. So according to the website, there's actually 12 springs that feed this sinkhole and the pond that surrounds it. I don't know where they came up with that particular number, but I'll take their word for it. In 1974, the Devil's Millhopper was designated as a national natural landmark, and it's also listed on the National Register of Historic Places, mostly in part for its surviving civilian conservation corps infrastructure. In the past, this sinkhole was once part of the University of Florida's research program, but they eventually were having issues with students throwing parties here and littering, so the state of Florida took this over in the 1970s and has been running it ever since. So normally you could do a complete loop of this sinkhole, but unfortunately, as you can see, this bridge is closed, and it looks like it is having some serious structural problems in the center. I'm no engineer, but it does look kind of rickety, and there's definitely some issues going on here. I think there had been some erosion at the base that caused some of the the failure that's obvious on the bridge itself. Despite the limitations of this park in its current state, this is still a pretty good place to take a nice little hike. The nature trail itself isn't particularly long, but you get a decent cardio workout from walking around. I grew up in the state of Florida, and I can tell you this state is relentlessly flat. Having some sort of, geological experience, even if it is a sinkhole, still makes things a little interesting, and it definitely breaks the monotony of living in Florida. I'm just glad that this sinkhole didn't form underneath my house. So just in case you're trying to keep a frame of reference for the layout of this park, on my right hand side is where the park entrance and parking lot are located. Now I'm heading eastbound as I curve around and start heading to the north. This park has a rather loose usage of the term nature trail. There's not much trail here, to be honest. You'll notice that I'm doing my best to keep the camera steady, but this ground is really uneven. You really need to wear hiking boots if you're planning to come out here. It's very easy to trip over roots and down trees and all kinds of stuff that you really need to be kind of an experienced hiker to navigate this particular trail. One thing I will give them credit for at the Devil's Millhopper is there are plenty of benches for people that might get tired on this trail, and they did pick some pretty good spots for the benches. Whether you're a bird watcher or a photographer, you'll definitely appreciate where several of these benches are located, because there are really good opportunities to film some amazing vantage points, especially if you are trying to take pictures of some of the wild birds that live here. So you'll notice that this isn't all one continuous take. I actually stopped the camera when I walked towards people because I didn't really want to intrude and get people on camera. And that's probably a good habit, because as I got towards the back of the park, I think I interrupted two college students from University of Florida in the midst of, I guess, foreplay? Maybe? Coitus interruptus? I'm not sure. I know they were not wearing a lot of clothing considering how chilly it was, but they weren't completely naked, at least. And I just kept going. I didn't want to dwell on that particular situation. They seemed pretty embarrassed, so I kind of have an idea what they were up to. If you were wondering about the wildlife out here, I did see a couple deer while I was making this video, although I don't think they appeared on camera. As for bears, I think we're too far into the urban area of Gainesville. Didn't see any signs warning about bears. I think we were good on that front. I don't think they're basically in this vicinity. With that bridge being closed, we're really deep into the park at this point, so there's not a lot of people back here. I wouldn't recommend that if you are a female to hike back here by yourself. Probably would worry about some safety concerns before attempting it. Either that or hike with like a girlfriend or a pal or something, just so you don't explore something like this by yourself. That situation should change once they reopen the bridge, but right now Yeah, probably something you would want to be vigilant about. Well, that's pretty much the grand tour of this park. We've done the entire perimeter of the nature trail that surrounds the sinkhole at this point. You're seeing that we're about to come up on that closed bridge again from the other side. You'll notice as we've walked around this nature trail that there are little signs that talk about the different plants and trees that are on this nature trail. Lucky for me, I'm totally illiterate. I don't have to worry about those things slowing me down. Thanks for watching this episode of The Adventure Shmup. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See everyone next week.